If you're like me, whenever you listen to the news, you feel forced to choose between two toxic sides. But people are more complicated. They don't fit neatly into just two groups, and media should reflect that.
That's where the Lost Debate steps in.
What's up, guys? I'm Corey Bradford.
And I'm Robbie Gupta, and we're the hosts of the Lost Debate.
This country is more politically divided now than ever before, but we're not as different as the mainstream media makes us out to be.
That's why we launched the Lost Debate. It's a podcast and YouTube show for the politically eclectic who've lost trust in our polarizing, partisan world. And we'll bring you news, ideas, and trends that are overlooked. We'll also bring people together to the conversations the media isn't having, to empathize with each other and challenge each other in good faith.
And some political satire and skits, because why the hell not?
New episodes drop Tuesdays and Thursdays. Lost Debate on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to Two Chunks and a Hunk. Movie musings for mostly everybody.
Hello and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your hunk.
I'm Doge, and you have chosen to sacrifice a celestial for the people of this planet. I will spare them, but your memories will show me if they are worthy to live, and I will return for chunkment.
That was Kevin's Cookie Monster impression from The Office.
I was thinking Optimus Prime accidentally, but I'll take that
At
too.
the end was definitely Optimus Prime accidentally.
Hey guys, I'm Carter, and I've watched humans destroy each other when I could stop it all in a heartbeat. Do you know what that does to someone over centuries? Could our mission have been a mistake? Are we really helping these people? What am I doing? Build a better world? We're just like the soldiers down there. I'm being Scottish, not Irish.
You're Scotty from Star Trek.
Chunks to their leaders, blinded by loyalty. No, that's a dead-on Druid. Chill.
Oh, yeah.
Chill,
That's true.
he says.
The guy who works on the engines of the Enterprise in Star Trek?
Druid, yeah.
Yeah, I love
The
Druid
guy who
from
lives
Star
in a
Trek.
swamp
We
with his
need more
friend Donkey.
kindness. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for everything.
Hey, Jordan.
Jordan, what about it, dude? Why are you hunking up, man?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, for the past 5.5 years of my marriage, we've slept in a bed that was my wife's childhood bed. I say childhood loosely. It was her end of high school bed.
It was the bed frame. Right.
It was a new
Not
mattress,
the,
right? Yeah, it
Not
was a
the
new
old
mattress.
Maddie. Yeah.
Ew.
New Maddie. This is where I would plug our mattress company if they were paying for an ad, but they're not, so I'm not going to plug them, but they're great.
Sorry about you.
Hang on. Really
Um,
quick. I'm going to Google how to apply for a mattress ad.
Just in general or with my mattress
It's
piece?
tough.
Keep going.
I
Keep going.
bet
Okay,
it's tough
yeah.
to needle. Go ahead.
No doubt. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's what this one is.
We got two now because we finally upgraded. I'm the hunk because I'm sleeping like a king finally.
You, the king you are, you king.
Sleeping like the king I be.
Sleep on it, King.
Got a king size bed and it's pretty great.
You want to hear something sweet? And it's going to be sad someday. But Chelsea and I are still queening it up.
Mhm.
We're in a queen.
Mhm.
And Nana, our dog who's about 75 pounds, sleeps with us.
Mm.
And we've slept with Nana in a king before. And we were like, you know what? We miss the cuddles. We miss having to barely get any space on our queen
There's a lot of meat in that bed. Just
Yeah.
a lot of
I sleep-
individuals.
Callie
quite
and
a bit of flesh.
Callie and I sleep in our bed with a 12-pound cat. So
Well,
a little
there you
different.
go. A little
but-
bit different.
No matter how big the bed is, we discovered that he just walks straight to my ankles and lays down on my ankles every single night.
You know, that's not too bad, though.
Generates
these
the
winter
heat of
months.
1,000 suns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
love that. Well,
king-size
congrats
bed.
on the king bed.
Thanks.
Was that like easy to put together all by yourself?
Yeah, Doge. In exchange for tacos, Doge came and basically put my entire bed frame together because I am doo-doo garbage at that kind of thing.
Listen, I was just doing what I'm not.
I mean, I'm not a hero.
I want to be clear that I offered to make Doge the hunk for this, and it got passed
I was
over.
just doing what anybody would do.
Sure.
You know, I don't feel like I should get rewarded for, stepping in and helping people
just being a good friend,
I was just taking care of people who can't take care of themselves.
I bought, we bought a dozen tortillas.
It's not altruism.
We went to Rosa's and bought a dozen tortillas alongside our other meal. And there were 4 of us eating, and we bought a dozen tortillas, and Doge and I ate 5 each.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're not called 2 skinny boys in a hunk, I'll tell you that right now.
That's right. Well, and we're all chunks, so we're not going to try and
That's
act
a
like
valid point.
That's very, very good.
That's why we rotate.
Well, you had a chance to defend me a little bit, but you didn't even get close, so that's fine.
No, dude. No, you're so
Let's
good.
do this whole
you're so
movie
great.
thing.
Oh, you're so
you're
skinny.
great.
Wow, dude, you're so skinny.
Oh my goodness, you're so skinny, dude. It lives separately from any series. It is on its own, and it is truly the great separator between the two because a new Marvel movie has hit theaters. And we're talking about it today.
More powerful and far younger.
And we're about to talk about
That was a Star Wars.
No, I know.
That's Star
I got
Wars.
it.
We got it.
Soon I will have a new apprentice. Fresh and sexual.
You remember the Emperor?
That's just the vibe of that line to me. The vibe of that line is gross.
Soon I will have a new apprentice. One more down to climb.
Please stop. Please stop.
And this one's nasty. One far freakier.
So anyway, as you can probably guess, the movie we're talking about today is called Eternals.
Is it The Eternals?
It's just Eternals.
It's just Eternals. It's like Eagles.
Wait,
It's The Eagles.
It's defo not the Eagles.
no, that can't be right.
Boys.
It's
You are
The
conflating.
Eagles.
Boys.
You know those great bands like
Boys.
Beatles, Eagles? No.
Boys. It's just
What?
Eagles.
What?
No.
It's just Eagles. It says, okay, look, Wikipedia, the title of the article is Eagles, parentheses, band. So you don't confuse it with the bird.
Sure.
The first paragraph says, the Eagles are an American rock band, but it is just Eagles if you look them up on the...
I will maybe let this
Spotify.
slide. Wikipedia is not really. Spotify is a much better source.
Check it. Eagles
I don't hear
on Spotify.
There it is. That's great. Thank you. What does Beatles do? Is it the Beatles?
Mm-hmm.
What if your world gets turned upside down too, just like ours was, and it's just Beatles? Take that, Carter. It's
Not
the
the
Beatles.
Beatles. They got
It's
an
the
article.
Beatles. Okay.
I love Brandon Flowers' band Killers.
All right, just because you said that, I have to check.
It's the Killers for sure. I can see the Hot Fuss album art in my
it
brain.
is the Killers. It is just Frey, though.
No,
Save Life.
it's not.
It's not.
Frey.
My favorite song by Frey, How Save Life.
I'll save life.
How Save Life.
Where I go wrong, lost friend.
I mean, I have to imagine everybody listening is pins and needles at this
Yeah, I
point.
can't
for
believe
anything,
people haven't
anything
turned it
besides
off.
this discussion to be happening.
Can't wait.
Doge, please give us a synopsis so we can start talking about this movie.
You know, I would love to. This IMDb synopsis has no author, which means it sprung fully formed from the robot factory of Ereshkigal, like Thena.
Very good.
Nice.
Following the events of Avengers Endgame 2019, an unexpected tragedy forces the Eternals, ancient aliens who have been living on Earth in secret for thousands of years, out of the shadows to reunite against mankind's most ancient enemy, the Deviants.
Yeah, that'll work.
And that's it. That's
That'll
the
work,
synopsis.
That's great. I feel like these early ones are always so literal. Like when the movie had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really get to
'Cause
get a
they're written by
Reganis.
the
Reganis
production.
is writing pretty consistently, and he hasn't
Yeah.
made it to the queue just yet.
Nick Reganis is still working on the Eternals one. It's on
100%.
draft 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Man, Richard Madden was born to play a superhero, huh?
I mean, he caught me here feeling way better as a demigod than a prince,
Yeah.
king.
Yeah.
Man, he fit really well, and it almost feels like Chloe or whoever wrote it thought the same thing when we had a kid reference to him as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks
Yep.
great. He looks really good.
Born for the part. I mean, absolutely. The jawline, the face, the voice.
Yeah.
His little Mr. Fantastic white streak too was fun.
Yup. I actually think he is. I think Icarus in this movie is the best on-screen Superman we've ever had.
Yeah. In order to just further solidify my reputation as somebody who hates DC, I don't think that I've quite earned that. I like a lot of DC stuff. Love the books. I think that Icarus does much cooler stuff than any Superman we've seen. Even the way he flies, the way he moves is like...
You're saying also the way he looks, or are you saying as a whole?
As a whole, like the representation of the powers and the way things go.
I'm in on that.
I think Henry
Cavill
looks...
no one will look more like Superman than Henry.
Henry looks like Superman. Icarus... is doing Superman stuff better than anything
I think if you deep fake Cavill's
that.
face onto this body, that's the best Superman.
Yeah, I'm there.
Right. That's ideal Superman.
Yeah, very much so.
Totally.
Yeah.
Speaking of DC, it's a little bit weird to bring them up here because the Eternals were created by comic writer Jack Kirby when he returned to Marvel. He had been at DC. He created the characters called the New Gods, and we got a little bit of New God teasing. Honestly, a lot of New God stuff in ZSJL, in Zack Snyder's Justice League, with Granny Goodness and Steppenwolf and all those guys, and Darkseid. Those are New Gods characters. And then when Jack Kirby came back to Marvel, he was like, dang, I really liked all that New God stuff. Let me just kind of do a Marvelized version of it. And that's when we got Celestials and Eternals and Deviants. And it's funny to me that, I don't know, it's just interesting, or maybe competing studio strategies to see DC sort of go for that in Justice League and then shy away from it. And then Marvel go for it, almost 20 years in, 15 years in, and fully be like, yeah, it's this weird ancient alien stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That was interesting.
Let's just attack it head on. Let's just go ahead and be aggressive with it right out of the gate. This movie has a 6.9. This movie has a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, a very low rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And we discussed previously, we're not afraid. Our official Two Chunks stance is this movie is rated so low currently because of racists and homophobes.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's really bad. And here's the thing too, if this isn't, and that's not to say...
If it's not your cup of tea, that's cool.
That's fine. But it does feel like this is crazy. It's crazy how low that...
You are lying to yourself if you think it's that low.
It is almost 15%. At the time I looked at it, 15% lower rated than Thor: The Dark World on Rotten Tomatoes.
Which is insane to me. This is a much better film than that.
If you watch this movie and you're like, not really my cup of tea, not for me, that is fine.
Great,
totally fine. To that. If you are dunking this movie on the internet because there are gay characters and racial diversity in the cast, get out.
No, it's simple. When anybody ever mentions that before, and we have the right to this strong opinion because we've got the platform. If you want to have
the microphones in front of our face right now.
So it's like, if people ever talk to me about that, then I say, okay, so what to you is the alternative?
Sure.
So let's put it in these words. So you would prefer we go back to having all white people. That's literally what you're saying. All white, straight people.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then you attend which church are you a member of?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Which is your God? Okay, interesting. It's like, and if we're heated, it's because there's some legitimate fire here. I cannot believe. And you know what's that's why I love that this movie has already made over $160 million, because who gives a rip? Nobody cares what these people went in and did on Rotten Tomatoes, because this movie is still probably going to be number 2 this year, number 3. I mean, it might beat Dune. It's already had a hotter, because Dune had, what we were alluding to long ago, a simultaneous stream on HBO really hurt it. And Eternals announced 2 or 3 months ago, we're strictly theaters, and this is what happens in the holiday season when people are feeling more safe. Now their 5-year-olds can get a vaccination. Now we've got all these boosters. I think it's coming back. This has felt the most like even just in the past,
an informal straw poll of the parking lot. I had to park way farther away from the theater.
I did too.
2 weeks later after I saw Dune.
Now, I want to be very clear, because I don't want to put out the wrong messaging here. I want to be very clear that the messaging of our opinion of the rating of this movie is that just to overstate what I'm saying, I'm not saying if you don't like this movie that you are a racist or a homophobe.
No, not at all.
I am saying that if you don't like this movie because you are a racist or a homophobe, that's a bad opinion, and you should feel bad about it. That's a bad reason
to not like a movie.
You're a bad opinion haver, and you should feel bad about it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for good.
That's the end of the episode. So
that's it, guys.
Let's rate him. This movie feels like it was made for me exclusively.
Doge, I was thinking about you so much the whole time.
This is like, it's got just enough like interesting, weird sci-fi that I'm hooked. It's got just enough like on-screen depictions of the gates of ancient Babylon, which is cool and really hooks me.
Right.
It's got enough references to ancient mythology and religion, which really hooks me. And it's got just enough Dan Brownification of world events that I'm like, man, that's pretty interesting. It feels like I left that movie being like, I don't know that anything has been more made for me that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
sure have all your different flavors that you like to
Sure
partake in,
does,
doesn't it?
It sure does. They made a chili just for me.
2 weeks in a
And
row
I,
talking about chili.
it's a pump for me and was pretty close to a super pump. But I think it's so clever. I love that the Eternals are basically crediting themselves for the stories of different gods through different cultures. It works. I think it's fun. I think it's
very
a
fun.
blast.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I think that portion of it was handled really well. And it was like, okay, cool. Especially for, I know nothing about it except for what the great Alamo Drafthouse gave me for the 30 minutes before. I know nothing about the Eternals. So to be able to jump straight into something, and again, when Marvel made Thor, that's probably why Thor is way higher on my list than I think these other two guys in the Marvel universe, because of it was such a risk. I think completely going to a different world. And we got to remember, guys, Iron Man wasn't really that big a deal. It was all Batman and Superman. Nobody's wearing Iron Man anything. That comes out. Then we do Thor. So Eternals for me was like, here's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Guardians is another great example of that. Of something that's even outside of our Earth in a sense, right? They have a home here,
Yeah.
but they do their business other places. But to kind of get fed this narrative, I was in. I was like, this I can totally see how this could line up with the rest of the Marvel universe. I think it was done really well.
Yeah.
Nothing felt super reachy to me.
I agree, and a lot of the complaints about the movie from a film perspective have been that I've seen both. It does not feel enough like a Marvel movie, and it feels like more of the same from Marvel. Like the consensus seems to be that like however different people received this was coming from two different directions. It felt very at home in the Marvel universe to me.
Yeah.
It definitely visually was a little different. It was more not grayscale, but just a little more desaturated and a little more Man of Steel-ish.
That's Chloe. It feels very
It's a gorgeous movie. Chloe was pretty adamant that she was like, I don't want this to look like the other Marvel super soundstagey. Age of Ultron really comes to mind, where everything is just like saturation turned up to 150%. It looks like a coloring book.
For sure.
And she wanted this to look more like a Chloe Zhao film, which it definitely does, right? I was expecting Frances McDormand to be walking along the beach there at the end.
So this is the blindest I've ever gone into a Marvel movie. I know the least about the Eternals. I know less about the Eternals than I've known about any Marvel movie thus far in the MCU, I think.
Cool.
Like less background information and stuff like that. So it was a treat. It was interesting to learn about some new characters. Richard Madden and Gemma Chan are immensely talented. I really, really enjoyed Icarus, and I really, really enjoyed Cersei. I don't feel like there was almost any on-screen romantic chemistry between the two of them. It's not my super dump.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like from such immense talent there, they've been in love for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
You'd think that there would be a little more of a spark between the two.
Yeah. You know what? I felt it, but I definitely didn't feel it as much as some of the stuff we've gotten recently, as much as WandaVision. It didn't feel like the same relationship between those two.
I mean, outside of Wanda and Vision, I don't think Marvel's really done a lot of romance at all.
Sure.
Certainly not well.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's hard.
Is this our first Wii Sports? Is this our first Wii Sports in a Marvel movie?
It is, yes.
I mean, we saw it.
Tony Stark did some Wii Sports in Iron Man 1. Before it was a Disney company, they did Wii Sports in almost every one of them.
Well, first I remembered a long time, because I guess it's been a long time.
I thought it was the first. I thought I had read that it was the first Wii Sports scene.
Who's your Wii Sports guy? They're lying to you.
You got to get
trying to get you in the door.
It feels too early for me to start super dumping and super pumping.
You say that every week, so it's fine.
Well,
Go.
but I'm good. I know I say it every week, but this time I mean it, and I'm going to hang on for
less than 60 minutes from now. You have to do it.
That's
It's not too early. You have less than an hour in which you can do this one thing.
That's true, man. I'm just going to knock them both out and then coast, I think, for the rest of the episode. What else is new, though?
It's only one letter away from host. You're already most of the way there.
That's a great point. That's a really great point.
It's two.
This movie, I feel like, should get some sort of recognition for how pretty it is. The cinematography, like you were saying, like the real on-set locations, like it pays off. It pays off for this movie in a really, really interesting way, because it does. I think that's part of the visual language that it is differing from the other Marvel movies, is how grounded the visuals are, even when the crazy stuff is happening.
It's a significant departure from Marvel's house style of stuff. Yeah.
Right. And I think it would be okay if it was something that we returned to, if we made a habit out of being on location as much as possible for these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
Like go to the real quantum realm next time. Don't cheap out and do it in a green screen.
Cowards.
Mm-hmm.
The visual parallelism of this movie is very good too. I think there's a great example of like whenever Cersei and Icarus first go to that valley in Babylon in Mesopotamia, like 5,000 years ago or whenever that is. Even the blocking where she comes up behind him and they hold hands like that, and then he turns around and look at her. That is exactly paralleled, exactly repeated the next time they're in that valley. The blocking is just inverted, where he walks up behind her, or whichever way is the opposite of the first way they did it.
Sure.
Really stood out to me because Marvel doesn't typically do stuff like that.
That's got to be Chloe, right? Like
it's Chloe, right? Like Chloe's direction in this is so. We've had some pretty standout directors in the MCU. We've got the Russo brothers, we've got Ryan Coogler, we've got Taika Waititi. Like we've got a lot of great, like really talented, well-known directors with pretty signature stylistic elements. But Chloe Zhao feels like she brought way more of like her dramatic style to this. It feels like we can see more Chloe than I could see Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It feels like just like, Cersei coming up and grabbing Icarus's hand and having the repeat of that later flipped. It feels very similar to that metaphorically, in that as much as we can talk about it's just Chloe being Chloe, it is also talking about Marvel letting Chloe be Chloe.
Sure.
I think that's something that has been such a smart play for the MCU for a very long time, is especially as we're going to start to notice. I don't think this will be the end. I think we're going to start getting more directors that are recognized for other things and are bigger deal, and maybe won the Academy Award the same year they're filming the Marvel movie that they're making. But it stands out more because of how different she was. But I think that's such a smart thing.
Completely.
For Marvel to say, I'm getting you because of who you are. Like I'm getting you because of your style. I can't stop thinking about the Warner Brothers picking up Peter Jackson. And while very much The Hobbit felt like Peter Jackson movies, it didn't. I mean, there was something too that was like he just had to bend to the will of the pockets, and it was it was dumb.
Sure.
So, especially for the timing to let Chloe be Chloe right now in a movie that was an Angelica Film Center type movie,
right?
That she did before that. So
it was almost my super pump. I ended up specifying my super pump a little bit more, but almost my super pump was just the diversity of our cast, both the diversity of the cast themselves and the diversity of the characters and the lifestyles represented in the characters. It's just refreshing to not see a copy paste of the experiences that we've seen so many times. Especially within something like the MCU, showing that it's listening, growing, and able to adapt in that way. I was really, really impressed. And to top it off, nobody's character was, at least in my opinion, nobody's character was subjected to any sort of tokenism. We had a deaf character that nothing was made about this character being deaf. We have a gay character that really nothing is made about this character being gay. We have a character who is a Bollywood actor, and it's not played up as some punchline. It's just fun that's what he has chosen to do with his life.
His vanity is played for the punchline.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love the respect that we have treated our characters with. Almost my super pump.
Yeah. I might have to super pump and super dump back to back because they do kind of battle each other like Beyblades in a bathtub. But my super pump is the characters, which feels like a cop-out because that's one of the main things of a movie is the characters that are in it. But my super pump is the characters because I know what your super dump is, I think. I can't think of the last time I watched a movie that was like, hey, here's 10 co-protagonists.
Yeah.
You have to learn and care about all
That
of
we
them.
that we
it's the
meet
same.
in
It's the
that
same.
movie, right?
That we meet in that
Right.
movie. Exactly.
Mine's the same, Doge, by the way.
Exactly.
And,
Like
the
how
last
did-
time we
how
had
did
it
we
was
service that so well.
It was maybe 6, and 5
Yeah.
of them were protagonists. Guardians of the Galaxy did that with half of
One was a
this.
tree. Yeah.
Well, no, and one was Yondo.
Yeah,
One of them was like we kind of got to know this guy as well, and that was basically
Yeah.
it. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's also
Just
my
the
super
fact
pump.
that-
That's why I'm interrupting and jumping.
I love
on.
that.
This script does such an incredible job. Like Cersei's our clear protagonist.
Sure.
We get to know 10 Eternals, and I mean Kit Harington is really barely in this. That was almost my super dump. We're just like, why? I mean, we didn't even need any of the Cersei and Dane Whitman stuff, but
we do for another.
it's
movie,
because I
but-
know who Dane Whitman is that I'm
Right.
unable to super dump that. But yeah, like the fact that we have really 10 co-protagonists. With a clear protagonist, but 9 other, I guess technically they're deuteragonists, they're secondary protagonists, is fantastic. Like this script, I don't know how it doesn't completely buckle under the weight of getting to know everybody and setting everybody up. I was feeling like, honestly, the person who was underutilized the most was Angelina Jolie. So kudos to Marvel that I guess if they make a script of 10 protagonists and one of them has to be underutilized, they're like, let's get one of the biggest movie stars ever to be the underutilized one.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
it feels
it's
like, obviously our survivors at the end of this are
Yes.
like, if you survive a Marvel movie, you're probably in the next one. So
Exactly. If you survive a Marvel movie, you've guaranteed yourself a decade of work
Yeah.
and multi-billion-dollar films within that decade.
Congrats, Kit.
Yeah, Kit, you made it. Kit, you did it. I done one that she's my queen. No, Marvel's your queen now, Kit. But so that's my super pump.
I
Is
think I'm
characters. They're
about to
all
have
so
to
good,
super dump
so
with you.
well written. They're so well acted, except for one.
can we do it on 3?
Can we?
No,
Is
it's
it
my
all
super
3 of us?
Is it my super dump? You ready on 3?
3,
Yeah.
2, 1.
Sprite.
Sprite.
Sucks.
Wow. Sprite's acting was
Super dump.
really, really
It
bad.
was bad, especially in a moment that I can't help but think about Mount Doom. Yeah, I've seen Sean Astin scream his head off
Yeah.
to the protagonist. Like that's also bad sound mixing. I think the sound mixing was really weird. It felt like she was just talking the whole time. She's supposed to be, I think what's unfortunate outside of just the casting of Sprite is she is pitched as a fantastic storyteller. She's pitched as someone who is the best at telling stories, and they're cheering her on in Babylon, and it's just like, no, you weren't. And I think since before E.T., you can't just be like, well, they're a kid. They're an actor.
Right.
Henry Thomas ruined that for you.
They're an actor.
Yep.
Drew Barrymore at 4 ruined that for me. Like they're an actor, and Sprite just didn't do it and that's what's a lot of things lined up to make it not work for Sprite, because Sprite's also supposed to be 2.5 part of a love triangle,
right.
like the half, and it just didn't work, and that wasn't just because it was weird, because Sprite is not human and can't grow up, right? Sprite asks herself, why have I been made this way? And I think, Doge, you've already said the script is good.
Yeah.
Like the script is good for what Sprite's story is, but it just wasn't delivered very well.
Wasn't acted well.
Sprite is the only thing in this movie to me that was actively bad.
Yes.
The performance was bad. The portrayal of the character was bad. Every time Sprite was
14.
involved, I
that's-
hated it.
The actress for Sprite is 14, and that's not a cop-out because there are very talented 14-year-olds, but also important to remember this person is 14 years old.
Sure, yeah.
But at the same time,
I've already said that's not an excuse.
Right, exactly. And to me, it's like if you want a talented young actor, I hear Millie Bobby Brown likes to do big movies like this.
Right.
I hear that. I mean, we just talked about Sophia Lillis in It. She's a talented young redheaded actress. We could get in this role. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like,
yes, that's the
there's
pick.
any number of talented young actors.
I'm
who
not
could
saying
have done
let's
this. I'm
send
not
death
sure.
threats to this young lady. I would never
No,
say
no,
that
no.
ever.
No.
My whole thing is like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
Why?
I was, again, I think we've already flexed that it's our podcast and we get to say what we want to. What I'm going to say is awful, but there was a moment of relief that I was like, oh, thank you, Cersei, for making sure that she dies someday. It was awful. It was awful.
The character.
Maybe The character.
Not the young lady.
The character.
Actually, that extends my super dump, though, is that like the character was acted poorly, and the script was written well up until that last moment where we went, this is a kid and they're gonna grow up in the real world, but Eternals don't grow up, so we're gonna give Cersei a magic power she's never had before and explain it as she was connected to the Unimind, and so she could turn her into a human.
And I only have enough power to do it one more time, like it's Santa's power from the Santa Claus 2.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And her watch is going to go to 0.
So that is so hand wavy and stupid. I really did not care for that.
Yeah, I think as we're talking about Cersei a little bit, Gemma Chan as Cersei is the driver for my super pump of characters. She's great, y'all. Mm-hmm. She's going to do so well. I think, and again, we're getting a ton of characters from any Marvel movie. They don't just pluck one out, right? Not even with the charismatic storm that is Robert Downey Jr. It wasn't just him coming to the next movie. It was always somebody else. But I think having Gemma Chan and having our lead for Shang-Chi, like I think we're starting to build. I can't help but think of those moments that were so magical in the first Avengers when all our crews together. Yep. I can't wait to get everybody in the same room. Because I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be.
I'm very excited for Awkwafina, for Katie to meet all of these Eternals.
Yeah, dude.
That will be very fun to me.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, the dynamic.
100%.
The dynamic. And Thor is Kingo's he taught him his ways, or he was
yeah, I love that line.
It's just fun.
Yeah,
yep.
I think
Kumail was great. By the way, Kumail's never a bad choice, but Kumail was so much better than I even knew to expect him to be in this.
His cameraman friend that was sort of his valet. Karun,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Delivered one of the most emotional moments of the movie for me when he genuinely thanks the Eternals for being allowed to be a part of this, knowing that the Earth is probably about to end.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
It's very, very sweet. And I think he is such a, he is not a manifestation, but he's there's moments that the MCU still gets to be really funny and really quirky, but that's so comic booky. I think a lot of the times when we have extended universes before this existed, it felt like if someone was supposed to be there, they're supposed to be really serious and really part of it narratively, but to still throw this in, that worked for me too, to have somebody with a camera going along with you. And it's different to have, your driver from the Suicide Squad, Jim Gunn's Suicide Squad, fighting with them. They didn't realize the guy came in. That's a joke.
Right.
But this one, it did still have some thoughtfulness to it. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I think that is really, really fun. Which is another thing that this movie managed to still do, much like Marvel, was be a ton of fun. This movie was a blast to watch. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to defend or I don't want to puff up the movie larger than I think it is in my head in order to counterbalance the unwarranted negativity about it. But I do want to be sensitive to I hope people haven't been turned off to the idea of this movie. I'm not saying, and obviously we'll rate it and stuff later, and I don't mean to part the curtain too early or anything. I don't want to build it up to where it's about to be it's a 10 out of 10, buy that poster for me, 100%, no doubt. I'm just saying it's definitely not a 49%, 6.8 out of 10. It's better than that.
Well, I think too, a reason I still think we might be pushing for people to go see this movie is because I think people are still waiting for a shoe to drop. I think people are still waiting for the MCU's big fluffed up bad
their beef
work. Yeah. And honestly, if it wasn't for Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston,
it would have been Thor 2.
It would have been Thor 2, but they already stamped that. This was scary because it had 10 new people, and that's what we're super pumping right now. Is that worked?
Sure.
That's
that was the thing I was most worried about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have both Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie, both Thena and Ajak. It feels like were this a different script, we would say we have room for one talented mega actor in their late 40s. In that stage of their career, we have room for one, and they're going to play the mother of the team. Right. But giving both of these women a great spotlight, very different, well-written, each in its own right, well-rounded, and neither one the tropey mother figure.
Yeah.
And also, they both really were fantastic.
Oh, they were so gosh. Good. I like to picture either of them, either Salma Hayek or Angelina Jolie, getting a script from, whoever works for them, and it's a script, and maybe the first thing they read is the director. It's a Chloe Zhao flick that are coming out.
Sold.
Then you find out it's a Marvel movie, though. And so I'm
for
sure they
real.
were just like, huh?
Yeah.
That's like best of both worlds. Like dream
yeah.
director and oh my gosh, this is going to make $1 billion.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Well, speaking of payday, we got to go to shout announcements. Make that cash.
And eat all our candy bars.
Eat all of our peanut-covered candy bars. It's the best part of the show, the one everybody likes. Nobody skips it because it is so good. It's the shout announcement show.
Some of my favorite moments on Two Chunks and a Hunk is right here, right at the precipice of a long series that gets me real excited. If you want to look back into the library, things like Do You Believe in Magic? Things like Fast and Furious, when we got started with that. Twilight,
the series
maybe?
was called The Fastest and the Furious.
The Fastest and the Furiousest, and All That Glitters, I think, was the name of our,
It sure was.
our Twilight series. We're coming up on one, my friends, and it is Spider-Man. There may be many of you who know that we're super Marvel-y, and Spider-Man's the weird one, right? We've got the relationship with Sony for such a long time.
Yes.
And so part of the reason we haven't really talked a lot about Peter's history outside of Tom Holland is just because we didn't, it was just outside of time, it felt like. And so we're going to spend some time with Toby. We're going to spend some time with Andrew. And we're just going to get ready for all them Spider-Mans leading up to the release of Spider-Man No Way Home.
That's the one.
It's always a question mark, but be on the lookout for that. That starts next week, which means that this week I get to watch a Spider-Man movie, and I'm very excited.
Pretty thrilled.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Pretty
That's going to be
I'm very
actually
excited
really
to look
fun.
down that calendar schedule and do that. It'll be a lot of Marvel for us. We'll be doing that. I'll also throw in that Hawkeye is happening around that holiday season too, and it feels very appropriately so narratively from the previews we've seen. So get ready.
Jordan, I just saw your notification on Slack. Doge, we'd like to finish the podcast now. I'm sorry that I stood up to take a pee-pee break before we did shout announcements.
Seems like a lot of
What
pee-pee.
It was a lot of pee-pee.
Oh,
I've been drinking a lot. Had a decaf coffee. Had a full Yeti of water that's 32 ounces.
Oh, okay. It's making a lot of sense. Actually, making
It's quite a
sense.
lot.
Pee
It's
for
quite a
about
lot.
12 and a half minutes.
Pee for about 12 and a half minutes. Listen, if this conversation has been as fun for you as it has been for us, we have a special offer for you to get even more of this kind of conversation. If your whole vibe with our podcast is like, I love listening to them, but they stick to the rules. They stay on subject too much. They don't go on enough rabbit trails for me. Then we think you'd really like our bonus episodes. On our bonus episodes, it is no rules, just right. And we do fun things like never remember how we start them and never end them the same way twice. And if that sounds like something you want to have access to, then I've got great news for you. We've got 2 levels, 2 support levels on Patreon that you can join and be a part of, and you get access to those bonus episodes at either level. We've got our $3 tier, which gets you those bonus epis. And then we also have our $5 tier, which gives you access to those same formless bonus episodes, as well as access to our patron-only Discord. And if you've listened for a while, you know we talk about our Discord all the time. We refer to it as the group text that we are always happy to get notifications in. I think if you're listening, there's a great chance you've got a group text. Maybe it's a work group text. Maybe it's family group text that every time it dings, you're just like, oh, this is a chore, not a privilege to check this notification. Discord is always a privilege. We love the conversations we get to have on there. We love each and every one of the folks who support us at that level. But whether you are a $3 supporter, a $5 supporter, or a $0 supporter who's just left us a review on iTunes, we love you very, very much.
That's true. And we would love for everybody to love us as much as we love all of you, which is why it's very important. If I were to say that the best thing you could do for us in the whole world is to review us on the Apple Podcast app, then perhaps the second best thing you could ever do is just absolutely blast every single person you know with our podcast. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to pop off, as the young kids are saying. And
They're all saying it.
Our greatest asset in the war on being smaller than we want to be always, because I want to be bigger than Joe Rogan's podcast, because I think I know more than him about stuff. So take that, Joe. Jogan. If I may be so bold, the biggest thing you can do to help us in that regard is tell your friends, tell your mom. Moms love us. Share this podcast. Share an episode that they would love. Share a little clip. Take a little screen recording of your favorite part and send it to somebody.
Pirate it.
Yeah, pirate. I love that. Please, it doesn't affect me in any way. Share us with the world as you would. Would you hide it under a bushel? No.
Would you download a car?
Yep. It's a victimless crime. It's not stealing a car, it's downloading a car. That argument has never made sense to me. It's not, would you steal your neighbor's car from their driveway? It's, would you look at your neighbor's car and go, I want to have that with no repercussions to the person that owns the original.
Would you download that car? I don't think I can do that. I wasn't aware that was an option.
But if you could, I definitely would, because there is no,
absolutely,
the source doesn't go away. It's a crazy argument to make.
I would be torrenting something fast like a Lamborghini.
Hey, I'll make this official statement. This is crazy. This podcast, music. If I ever make a movie, I don't care. I'd rather you torrent it than never see it or listen to it. I'd rather you get it illegally than never hear it. I care about art going out to the world, not the money that I make.
What's that you see in our hands extended to you? That's right, grace. Do whatever you want with this podcast.
Can I get the band up?
I feel like something we should have talked about before. Before just
Carter wants you to pay for this podcast. Carter's deep in the pocket of big podcast. Carter thinks podcasts should be exclusive.
Carter's never worked a real job in his life.
You won't believe what Carter looks like now.
Number 10 will shock you.
Doctors are horrified.
If you're like me, whenever you listen to the news, you feel forced to choose between two toxic sides. But people are more complicated. They don't fit neatly into just two groups, and media should reflect that.
That's where the Lost Debate steps in.
What's up, guys? I'm Corey Bradford.
And I'm Robbie Gupta, and we're the hosts of the Lost Debate.
This country is more politically divided now than ever before, but we're not as different as the mainstream media makes us out to be.
That's why we launched the Lost Debate. It's a podcast and YouTube show for the politically eclectic who've lost trust in our polarizing, partisan world. And we'll bring you news, ideas, and trends that are overlooked. We'll also bring people together at the conversations the media isn't having to empathize with each other and challenge each other in good faith.
And some political satire and skits, because why the hell not?
New episodes drop Tuesdays and Thursdays. Lost Debate on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'd like to talk about my 3 favorite Eternals in order, starting with number 3. My number 3 favorite member of the Eternals team, my number 3 favorite Eternal, and I'm only stalling because I don't remember how to pronounce the name, Makkari.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Makkari is a, what's lovingly referred to as a speedster. The Flash, Quicksilver. Yeah, thank you.
Ralph Boner.
That's not real.
Ralph Boner.
That's not real.
From WandaVision.
That's not real. So yes.
We thought he was.
Yes. No, it's great. Makkari is probably, I think, the best on-screen version of this that we've seen as far as her powers go. Her fight with Icarus was so sick.
Oh man, that was cool.
The punch move was amazing.
Can I just say that's so encouraging to me? I was still going to love what I loved because that's what we preach on this podcast. But I feel like I see moments like that and I'm like, wait, I've seen Fast Person on superhero movie before, and I didn't want to be just ignorant and be like, I think this is the best I've seen.
To me,
so it makes me feel like
it is for sure. But then
when y'all agree with that,
on top of that, the fact that Makkari is a deaf character played by a deaf actress, and that the group of Eternals, both in fiction and in real life, learned sign language in order to communicate. Like, I don't know, dude. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
It fills my heart with warm fuzzies, and I'm a huge fan. I'm here for it.
Yeah,
that's super.
My second favorite is Phastos. Dude rules.
Yeah.
His powers are so sick. The scene of him at Hiroshima was devastating emotionally to me.
Yeah.
I understood where he was coming from. I loved him finding love for humanity in his family and in finding humans that weren't full of hate and malice. I don't know, dude. I loved Phastos. Everything about him was so good. Brian Tyree Henry is my absolute road dog. Have never disliked him in anything. He is amazing, and he's getting me. I feel like all this cash from this money for box office ball.
I feel like we saw him in something recently, and we're like, we didn't love him.
No. He was underutilized. It was Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh,
it's not that he was,
wasn't he?
It's not that he was bad.
Bummer
It's
of a
that he was
movie.
underutilized.
Yeah.
He was the podcaster. Yeah, I forgot he was in that.
And then my first place favorite, Eternal, is also my super pump for this movie. And it was tough to narrow down because I had a lot of other options because there was a lot I really liked about this movie. My super pump for this movie is Barry Keoghan's performance as Druig. I was enraptured.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have ever not been. The three things that I really know him from
By Barry.
By Barry. Yeah, the three things that I know him from really well are Dunkirk, Chernobyl, and now this. And in all three, he has stolen the show. He is amazing. He has this subtlety to him that is heavy. And he, I don't know, such a young person was able
felt
to
like he was
be
born-
5,000 or 7,000 years old.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I feel like he was born having seen things.
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
when you say that about people, oh, they've seen stuff. He comes out of the womb and you're like, man, what happened?
He's-
to you in there?
This baby has seen some
He's
stuff.
got the
Are you
face
good?
of someone who saw the Revolutionary, Civil, and both World Wars and came out the other side world weary and tired. 100%.
Yes. Yes.
I just think he's fantastic. I think that Druig is so interesting that he has created essentially a cult designed to keep people safe from the outside world is so interesting.
Yeah.
The way that he bears the weight of responsibility with not excitement, but total acceptance of just like, yeah, that's about what I expected this was going to be. I don't know, man. I just love Barry Keoghan and I love Druig.
Hearing you talk about your top three is such a testament to how good they did with this movie. Because mine is, I think I only share one of them, but I can also completely believe you on what you said. Because we did get 10 people with 10 powers. And not only did they introduce us to the characters, they introduced us to what they can do. And they're all really cool.
Super
and a lot
cool.
that has to do with how you represent it. But even seeing, oh my gosh, Nanjiani, it's not Kilgo. Kingo. Even seeing Kingo's, like, give me some time so I can load up a bigger shot. Like, just kind of his powers
so
in general.
sick.
The way it almost felt like it made barrels around his fingers with those fun.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about much about how it felt very Doctor Strangian.
Oh, it did, didn't it?
Seeing these things kind of pull up. But yeah, I think I'm probably Druig, Gilgamesh, Cersei. 3, 2, 1.
Gilgamesh was amazing.
Gilgamesh was great. I was honestly very sad to see him go.
Yeah.
He was so fun, and his powers were super cool.
So Doja and I, just to part the curtain a little bit, Doja and I did talk about this one specific aspect just for a brief moment on Friday, just because I was curious what he thought. Carter, was your read on Gilgamesh and Thena, what was your read that it was romantic or not romantic?
Man, I probably lean romance.
Okay.
I would have been down if it wasn't, but I'm also down that it's somewhere in between. It could have just been this thing that like Gilgamesh had never truly expressed that, not only, I think they're best friends.
Yeah.
I think they were absolutely best friends. It feels less than our Scarlett Johansson, less than our Hulk relationship with Black Widow, but probably 54% romantic.
So it never read on screen as romantic to me. I absolutely buy that with that much history and that much closeness, there probably was some romance.
One-sided. I think he loved her in more of a way, and he just never asked.
Something that I just appreciate is that it seemed like it wasn't important.
No. She was going to grieve him no matter what. They all were going to grieve if they lost somebody. There was so much talk about just family in general. This is our celestial Fast and Furious game.
Yeah,
basically.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
So this movie,
Come on, do the right thing.
face your destiny, join the movie. My kids talk about you every holiday. I think that Eternals is about love. I think that it is ultimately a movie about love and what it looks like when you are 7,000 years old and you have watched people come and go, and the people around you are the tightest relationships you have because they're the only ones that are going to outlast everything else with you, and what love looks like. And it's not so much found family as it is forced family in a really interesting way. It's this dynamic of we kind of get on each other's nerves, and there's some of us that just straight up don't like each other or just have beef because we disagree. And yet also when push comes to shove, we are the closest things to each other that anything else could possibly be because we have just had so much under our belts together. And it was very unique. We saw romantic relationships their portrayal aside, we saw romantic relationships, we saw family relationships, we saw friendships, we saw sort of a maternal and child relationship. I don't know, man. The Eternals is a movie about love to me.
Yeah, the way they shot the movie too, when we talk about these relationships, is there's so much history. You know, it's one thing for Steve to go back and get that dance with Peggy Carter.
Sure.
But it's
Don't make me misty-eyed now.
It's another thing to have thousands of years. I mean, to be able to really, it worked for me. It worked for me.
Yeah.
Did y'all see who the voice of Crow was? Did you know he even had a name?
Hey, that was almost my super dump. Is the Kirby deviant who sucked people up and absorbed their powers?
Yeah.
That was totally out of place in this movie.
It was like a secondhand villain.
Well, to me, it's like if you're going to go that route, if you're going to introduce Crow, and Crow is a character from the comics. Crow has a romantic relationship with Thena. So I think that's why we get their scene together at the end. It's a little nod to that. If you're going to go that route, if you're going to open the can of worms that we're no different from the deviants, we're a tool of the Celestials.
That's a much deeper conversation than we ever got into
That's a
here.
deeper conversation. That's a question the movie's not really willing or capable of answering. And
we don't get to it, doesn't seem like.
Right. That should lead to a team up of Eternals and Deviants fighting to keep the Celestial from awakening. That's really what I thought we were going to get.
Waste,
that
dude.
Crow was going to assist the Eternals in absence of, like, he was going to use the powers of the Eternals that he killed. He was going to be the Ajax, be the healer, and also the tank, Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
And assist them in keeping Tiamat from being born. I think that was a huge missed opportunity.
What a waste of Bill Skarsgård.
Had Sprite's performance been 1% better, that would have been my super dump.
Yeah, totally. I agree. What a waste of Bill Skarsgård. There was a point in the movie where I was like, I love every Eternal. Kind of want to see this dude kill all of them and see what happens to him after he absorbs all their powers.
It's genuinely like the first thing you do when a new Smash comes out, and you be Kirby and you suck up all the new characters.
You do be Kirby.
And you see what, you do be Kirby, and you see what kind of power Kirby gets when he sucks up Sora. What does Kirby do? What does Kirby do?
I know I was making fun of you
about
for saying you do be Kirby. That is what I do in Super Smash Brothers a lot. Is see what
you do
Kirby
be Kirby.
Does.
Yeah. I don't beat Kirby though. Like, for
I don't
real,
play as
Kirby's.
If I'm
not
picking, Kirby's not even close to my choice.
Okay.
It's gonna be Roy because Roy's our boy.
Yeah.
But that's just a me Mario. You know what I'm saying?
I'm more of a Liu Kang kind of guy. You know, big fan of the Smash Brothers series.
Carter actually whips wholesale cheeks at Super Smash Brothers and then pretends like he doesn't, which is so funny. Carter's like, I never have seen one of these before, and then comes in.
What's it called? Is that what you play on your Nintendo?
Is that a Nintendo?
You can tell I don't play a lot because evidently I whoop, but I just pick the most obscure characters. I'll be like Rob and Duck Hunt.
I love that you act like that's not what I would have guessed for you, though.
Yeah, you're total Rob.
Go ahead.
You're such a
Go ahead and find a way to reach out to us and just guess what each of our Smash Bros mains are. I told you already that my favorite main is Roy, so you can go for my secondary. That's all right. I think let's talk about larger universal implications.
Sure.
It's a Marvel movie, so we are allowed to speculate wildly and swing about in the dark.
Sure.
Got a couple of post-credits we need to talk about.
Oh, hey, yeah. If you haven't watched the movie, turn it off right now. Just hit pause right now. You got 5 seconds, 4, 3. I'm about to say a big name, 2, 1. Can y'all believe
Patton Oswalt as Pip? I can't believe they got him.
Hey, first of all, I love Patton Oswalt.
I know, it's a great choice for Pip.
Okay, so on the way out of the theater, I was talking to Callie. That's my lovely wife. And I was telling Callie, I think it's awesome that Harry Styles is going to be in the MCU. I'm interested to see how, let me finish this because I felt real dumb and she absolutely dunked me. I was like, I'll be interested to see how he does in like a big acting role like this. And she goes, isn't he one of the main characters in Dunkirk? And I was like, yeah, you're right, honestly. I forgot we already saw him and he's amazing. So yeah, it's incredible. I am in love with the idea that Mr. Watermelon Sugar himself is going to be.
I'm down. I do think it's going to be great.
Of course.
I really do. And this isn't the first time that we've had.
He's the god of
Zendaya.
love.
We've had music stars come into the MCU. So
are we classifying Zendaya as a music star first?
Sorry, she had another career. I mean, it felt like didn't she sing before?
I'm sure she did.
I mean, she was
a
singing
Disney
when she was
kid.
A kiddo.
I mean, we could talk about Haley. Haley's a music
Haley
star.
Steinfeld. Yeah, that's what I was going to say next. So I think it's great.
Jeremy Renner got his wonderful country records.
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, there is nothing.
Steve
I'm
Martin.
not trying to defend it and make sure it's not like a money grab. We can't say the MCU is not trying to make money. Hello,
Yeah.
that's why ultimately.
I just
why
don't think they have to try that
But
hard, so it's hard to define what
Heads
they're
up,
doing.
hippies. That's why art exists.
I am down. I think Harry Styles might feel out of place to some people because of how huge he is now.
Not to this
in
people.
another
I'll tell you that.
This would be like if the MCU was in the 70s, like early
It's Barry
80s,
Gibb.
and post credits. No, it's like Paul McCartney. It's like,
right.
wait, who? But I think Harry's.
Didn't you hear? There's another Infinity Stone. We got to go find it.
Tell me. Yeah. And there's already more chemistry between him and Gemma Chan than what we had from the other two. The whole
Dude,
movie.
him and
Harry Styles.
It wasn't Gemma. It was
Him
with
and
Angelina
Thena were the
Jolie.
big flirt, and I'm
Come on, that's
down.
Harry Styles has never met me, and we have chemistry.
Yeah, that's true.
Harry Styles is the grand chemist, the capital C chemist.
Harry Styles
I did
rolls up
see
to the
this.
Taco Bell drive-thru and rolls down his window, and they're like, "What can I get for you today?" And he's like, "I'll have," and they're like, "You will."
Yeah. I saw this beautiful man live.
So
and
jelly.
It changed.
Desperately
Um,
jelly.
jealous.
So can somebody tell me a little bit about Eros?
Yeah.
Doge,
Roman.
can you dive deep here?
Yeah.
Let us
yeah.
know what to expect.
Eros is the brother of Thanos.
Eros.
Yep. Thanos is half brother sometimes, adopted brother sometimes, but basically Thanos was at one point a kind of second or third generation Eternal. I think it was. Oh crap! I do not remember I'm not even going to try to guess which run it was, but
I wouldn't
anyway,
know.
yeah, they're at times brothers with varying degrees of biological closeness. But Pip is the Herald of Eros. It's really, I mean, it's pretty much exactly what you see here. There's not a ton of like, and Eros goes on to become a member of the. No, he just kind of hangs out. I've seen a lot of people online speculating that Eros is going to be a key figure in the cosmic side of the MCU moving forward, that we've got kind of our space-bound folks who are going to be fighting the Celestials when they come back to judge Earth. And then we've got kind of our Earthbound folks who are going to be fighting Kang, and perhaps Kang will fight with the Earthbound folks against the Celestials or the cosmic threat.
Amazing.
Should be super fun.
Gotta be Galactus
What can-
coming.
Oh, for sure.
What can Eros do?
Make me fall in love. I'll tell you that right now.
What are his powers besides charisma?
I don't know. I mean, what are
Oh.
Thanos' powers? Thanos doesn't really have any.
I mean, there you go.
he-
There you go.
powers,
It's just
you
I
know?
was so used to all of our other Eternals basically
yeah.
being like Power Rangers.
In mythology, he is the Roman analog to Aphrodite, correct? Like he is like the male god of love.
Oh, is he
Yeah.
really? Then this is a great casting. This is actually a really, really good casting.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Maybe that's why he would have some kind of, I don't know. And then can we talk about Dane Whitman?
Yeah,
Yeah. The Black
This is
Knight.
the Black Knight, right?
I had to
In
look it up.
the- I
I had
think it
no
was-
idea.
In the 50s, when Marvel Comics was like Ace Comics or something like that, there was a character
Also, his
called
sword looks
Yeah, of
amazing.
course.
character called the Black Knight, who is a member of Arthur's Round Table, Sir Percy something or other.
Whitman?
Had a blade. No, it wasn't Whitman. It was a different last name. Had a blade made of darkness. It's called the Ebony Blade.
Evil.
We got a shout out to it
Phenomenal.
earlier in the movie whenever Athena is like practicing with this Excalibur. And Sprite's like, is that the Ebony Blade? And Athena goes, no, it's just Excalibur, which is an interesting qualifier, just Excalibur. But the Ebony Blade is a sword that is hungry for death, hungry for blood. That's why we have the Latin inscription, death will be my reward. In the case of the Ebony Blade, the more somebody wields the Ebony Blade, it's itself thirsty for blood. And so it will begin to take over the user, and they will
Feels
begin...
symbiotic, yeah?
It is. It's really similar to the symbiote. Will begin killing indiscriminately to satiate its bloodlust. So Marvel kind of brought this back whenever they became Marvel Comics. I think it was the 70s, maybe early 70s. Dane Whitman is the second Black Knight. He's a long, like years and years and years and years descendant of Sir Percy from Arthur's Round Table. Really, really ill-defined in the comics. At times, he's head of kind of like Marvel's sort of mixture of Ghostbusters and Men in Black with Blade. And, he's pretty ill-defined in the comics, doesn't have a really set personality or affiliations, which is great because the MCU can
kind of do whatever they want.
Kind of do whatever
Here's
they
the
want
thing,
with him.
you don't accidentally cast Kit Harington in a role.
No.
So, I mean, he's here.
Yeah.
He's around.
Yeah. I don't know where he'll show up next. My money's on Multiverse of Madness because that's
fun.
magical artifact. But I could also see him equally at home in the Blade movie or show, whichever one Mahershala Ali is going to be in.
I forgot Mahershala is about to join the MCU.
Yeah, dude.
A lot of people are saying that's Mahershala's voice or Jeffrey Wright's voice as Uatu
I
the Watcher.
assumed it was Mahershala at the end.
I don't think it's either
it
one.
probably isn't.
I think it's maybe the sword or the ghost of the descendant of,
Here's what's weird. I thought it was Fury.
I did not think it was Fury.
Samuel L.
I didn't
Jackson.
think so either.
There is no credited voice currently.
Yeah.
There is no confirmation anywhere. I did think it was Mahershala.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's
It totally
clearly
did.
going. The thing is that he's clearly going to grab the Ebony Blade to try and somehow hurt Erisham the Celestial because Erisham took his girlfriend.
Sure.
Right? So who knows whether he'll fit on the cosmic or the kind of multiversal planar war side. But I'm interested to see what comes next.
Now, there's obviously...
So who is the voice? This is Google. The voice isn't named in the credits, but Chloe Zhao, recently confirmed that our first guess is correct. It's none other than two-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali.
Shut
Oh,
up.
cool. So that
It's
feels like
Blade?
a Blade connection is 100% there.
In the room.
Cool. Blade just materializes out of the darkness.
Excited.
That's cool.
Now, there's obviously about another hour or two of discussion we could just sort of fantasize and have about this movie.
When Erisham returns to judge the Earth, my theory is that the tool he will use is Galactus.
I have been waiting for about a decade now for a Marvel post-credit scene that is simply the Silver Surfer crashing to Earth and saying he is coming with no
We did that
extrapolation.
exact scene of the most famous thing is the Silver Surfer crashing into the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yep, we did it with Hulk.
We did it with Hunk.
And I'm waiting for it to happen again.
Yeah.
I want it to be in the Sanctum Sanctorum again and for the vibe to be like this again.
Dude.
And then it's
Crash
way
into
more
the Baxter building.
Sure.
Come on. Baxter building, please.
I'm down. Whatever. That works for me. I guess, the movie, the cinematic ties, I guess, are stronger in people's brains to Fantastic Four than they are to anything else for Silver Surfer. It is time.
Or fine, just do it. The post-credit scene is him crashing into some mansion in Rochester, New York, and it's the X Mansion.
Ooh,
And we have a whole cast of X-Men there.
Why would you say?
Excuse me?
Why would you say something like that? Get me all sweaty.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Why would you get me all sweaty?
This did really feel X-Men, though. We haven't
felt
really
very
had
X-Men.
a Marvel movie with focus on individual power sets in the fight scenes.
What a fun slow play this has been because we've gotten so much and it feels like, especially in a movie like Eternals where we're getting just a lot of characters that even some that might know canon better, if you can call it canon in a comic book universe.
history, perhaps.
To still not have big hitters in the MCU yet, like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. That's at least 104 different characters.
So my little Spidey slut power fantasy is still for anybody who is strong in the MCU to go toe to toe with Spider-Man and be like, "Whoa, this kid's crazy," because there's something inside of me that just always wants Spider-Man to be like the strongest thing in the world.
Yeah,
We got our blue-eyed ever-loving thing to do that, though. Like Peter and Ben's relationship would be great for that.
Yep. It is time to rate this movie. We're going to do that using the scientific cinema skill, which is perfect, and it is as follows. The best thing we can ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it. Buy that poster. The next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it, and then stream it. After that is forget it. And last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie.
God hath forsaken us.
I buy the Eternals. I legitimately do. I think there were those things that stood out that, you guys end up writing something better. But it doesn't stand out as much to take me down to a rent. And, the MCU is one of the franchises that I don't find myself comparing it as much to other MCU movies in terms of where it falls. I think it's top heavy.
Sure.
And I think that's what makes it so popular is there's just so many good ones. I would buy it and yet I would still call it somewhere in the middle. like just a little bit in my top half of my favorite Marvel movies ever, right? But that's a testament to how good our entire library is just about all of it. So I buy it.
I think I'm going to buy it as well. And I think for the reason that it is so unlike, I am firmly in the camp that this is a significant departure from form for Marvel.
Sure.
It still feels like Marvel, but it feels like when Taco Bell rolls out a new taco and they're like, we use these same ingredients you know and love.
But the shell is made of fried chicken.
The way we've combined them will blow your absolute mind. And I feel like that's what Marvel's done here. Like this is easily a top half Marvel movie, maybe even a top 10 Marvel movie for me. And I think it climbs even higher because it is so unlike anything else. You know, because I think a lot of my top would be like Thor Ragnarok and Guardians 1 and Guardians 2. And it's like, well, those are really, if you boil each of them, you might end up with a pretty similar reduction at the end of the day. You know, or like I love Captain America the Winter Soldier and Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. And it's like, well, they're kind of pretty similar, but this is a real outlier to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm renting Eternals. It is a high rent, but it is a rent nonetheless. I think that this movie is important to the MCU. And I think that in the same way that we talk about a lot of the ways that Guardians seeped into other things, some of the sensibilities, I think we might find that some of the sensibilities from Eternals begin to seep into future Marvel projects. Not things that are already done, but 3 years from now, 4 years from now, I think we're going to find that things are starting to look a little more like this. And I'm excited for that. I think this was a really, really great first outing for the Eternals. I think that Chloe Zhao obviously has the chops necessary to handle a project of this magnitude. I really enjoyed it. It's a rent for me, but it is a rent with a big smile. It's not like a, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that is going to do it for our Eternals discussion. If you're like, please, no, give me more Marvel, I have good news. If you skipped shout announcements, then I'll tell you right now, next week starts our Spider-Man series where we will march through the Raimi Spider-Menses, the Andrew Garfield-led Spider-Menses. I don't know the directors of those.
Mark Webb.
Leading up to...
Oh, that's appropriate.
The third Tom Holland Spider-Man in the MCU, No Way Home.
What a ride. We need to see that one together.
Naturally.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Naturally.
Except it's like Christmas.
It's like the 17th? Is that right? Or is that winter?
17.
Yeah.
Both.
Is it really?
Same day.
Very interesting. Well, make sure you tune in because we're going to be talking. I'm so pumped to watch Tobey Maguire's first Spider-Man movie this week. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'm like thrilled. I've not watched it I bet it's been a decade.
Make sure and watch it in the daytime with the lights on, Doge.
Yeah. It's home to my scariest movie scene of all time.
It's so good.
It's right up there with Ian Holmes' face transforming.
Dude, in terms of childhood scaries in movies I otherwise loved, absolutely it is.
Oh man. Well, to end today's episode, I'd like for each of us to say our names and to answer this following question. Do you think Icarus is dead? For Two Chunks and a Hunk, I'm Jordan, and no, I don't think he's dead.
I'm Doge. In All-Star Superman, Superman pieces out, hangs out by the sun for a little while. And I think that's exactly what Icarus is doing. We didn't even talk about how kind of actually pretty dumb it was that he flew straight to the sun after they already lampshaded the Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun story, like 6 or 7 times earlier in the movie. But no, that boy is still alive.
That's dumb to you because you knew about that at like 2 years old. I think some people just needed to know. Like, hey,
me and
popular.
Barry Keoghan both came out of the womb being like, that baby knows about Icarus.
That
baby knows about the story of Icarus.
I'm Carter, and I think he did, but I think the Celestials are just going to make another version of him.
Interesting.
So we'll see him again, but it will not be the one that flew.
Very interesting. I actually love that.
Restore him from a previous save.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start warming up my Flood voice. This episode has reminded me how big of a dork you are.
Oh.
I got to warm up my Flood voice for our Spider-Man series where I absolutely
give it a shot.
That you will tap dance all over the nerdiness of having read 2 books that we talked about. I'm going to prepare it.
Mario.
Give it a shot.
Mario.
Really lay into me. Really
Mario,
embarrass me.
I am Flood.
I got to work on it. I'll get back to you.
I feel so bad for Uncle Ben. It's totally different. That's like droopy.
I should have said you bed.
Oh, bother. Oh, here comes Peter. This is a different iteration of Peter, of course. Not the one from...
I once read a comic with this guy in it.
If you zoom in times 1,000, you can see MJ written on the corner of the street. It is an illusion created by a villain we have not seen for 20 years.
Spider-Man is an allegory for the responsibility of man.
So we're just going to use those clips for my part next week.
Sure.
I'm going to delete that
Take
calendar
a week
invite.
off. Take a week off.
If you're like me, whenever you listen to the news, you feel forced to choose between two toxic sides. But people are more complicated. They don't fit neatly into just two groups, and media should reflect that.
That's where the Lost Debate steps in.
What's up, guys? I'm Corey Bradford.
And I'm Ravi Gupta, and we're the hosts of the Lost Debate.
This country is more politically divided now than ever before, but we're not as different as the mainstream media makes us out to be.
That's why we launched the Lost Debate. It's a podcast and YouTube show for the politically eclectic who've lost trust in our polarizing, partisan world. And we'll bring you news, ideas, and trends that are overlooked. We'll also bring people together at the conversations the media isn't having to empathize with each other and challenge each other in good faith.
And some political satire and skits, because why the hell not?
New episodes drop Tuesdays and Thursdays. Lost Debate on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.